Chapter 41 Yaoyue, Boss, do you want to develop a long-distance relationship? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Devour the world. One day later, Jiang Li returned again. This time, Uncle Jiao World and his party spent 10,000 points on teleportation cards, but they still gained more knowledge. It was quite interesting, especially chatting, eating, and giving advice on martial arts with Jiao Shu, Zhou Sheng, and Wen Kai, who were familiar to me from my previous life. Moreover, he also gained some insights this time when he watched the royal zombies survive the tribulation, striking while the iron is hot. In Jiang Li's consciousness, the entire process of the royal zombies' tribulation began to emerge. He began to deduce and analyze all the mysteries of this process with his incredible understanding. When this process was analyzed by him, all his inner meanings began to burst out in his consciousness and merged with it. You observe the process of corpse transformation and know that there is a way of life, a way of death, the intersection of yin and yang, and the cycle of life and death. You discovered the secret of life and death and understood the Corpse Emperor Sutra. I don't know how long time passed, but finally something brand new appeared in Jiang Li's consciousness. He opened his eyes, and a torrent of information instantly passed through his heart. Corpse Emperor Sutra. This is a technique practiced with a corpse. The Corpse Emperor Sutra is quite strange. It is not practiced after death and becomes a zombie. The practice of the Corpse Emperor Sutra must be practiced while one is still alive. Of course, practicing while alive cannot improve any strength, it can only cultivate a seed, and this seed, when the person who practices the Corpse Emperor Sutra dies, as long as the body is not completely destroyed, then this seed can germinate, thus causing the dead body to transform into a zombie body and awaken the memory of the previous life. The stronger you are before death, the stronger you will be after transformation. This can be regarded as a backhand and a trump card. Jiang Li didn't want to be a zombie, but one day, if you encounter a terrible enemy and are killed, even if you turn into a zombie, who doesn't want to live again? Opening the chat group, Jiang Li wanted to see the value of the Corpse Emperor scripture. Corpse Emperor Sutra, Corpse Cultivation Technique, 200,000 points, are you sure to upload it? Corpse Repair Technique. 200,000 points. Jiang Li's spirit was greatly boosted. This was obviously another kind of cultivation system. Just the startup is worth 200,000 points. The potential of this system was beyond his imagination. Yes, Jiang Li directly uploaded the technique, which can be regarded as a wave of blood recovery. Chat group, Peach Blossom Island Little Chef, damn it. Has the boss uploaded the exercises again? Corpse Emperor Sutra. You have to die to practice. This, Shaoli Feidao, Boss Nayuhide. Borrowing techniques from the infinite universe, Boss Jiang Li went to Uncle Jiao's world and got a 200,000 point exercise book. 100-year-old Wudang veteran, the boss is still hiding his clumsiness. Zixia Junzi sword, worship the boss. Zombie Taoist priest, everyone, I'm back. This time I really want to thank Mr. Jiang Li. Group friend Zombie Taoist Master uploaded a memory video, please go and check it out. Peach Blossom Island Little Chef has downloaded the video. Yaoyue has downloaded the video. Downloaded video of borrowing methods from heaven and earth to the infinite universe. In an instant, everyone saw a face that was as rich as jade and could be chopped with a knife or an axe. His eyebrows are like swords, and his eyes are as bright as stars. At this moment, the strength Jiang Li showed was completely overwhelmed by his appearance and temperament. A group of face control people in the group even exclaimed, Zixia Junzijian, this is so unreasonable. Even if Jiang Li is so amazingly powerful, he is still so handsome. Shaoli Feidao, I admire it. Shaoli Tanhua feels ashamed. Ba Shu 69 knew, borrowing methods from the infinite world of heaven and earth, quite a bit like the demeanor of an old Taoist when he was young. For a moment, all the men in the group felt a little jealous. Ihua Palace, bang bang, Yaoyue felt her heartbeat suddenly speed up. Only then did she realize that Jiang Li's appearance was more handsome and charming than he had imagined. She was originally a beauty girl, but she fell into it in an instant. Yaoyue at Lord, boss, do you have any plans to develop a long-distance relationship? The kind that is neither noisy nor noisy. Invite you to send a photo. Yaoyue in the photo is not only noble, but also magnificent. She is as high as a queen, making people feel unattainable. This is just temperament. In terms of appearance, she is also super capable, with skin as white as jade and facial features that are so exquisite that they are impossibly delicate. She is like a goddess descending to earth. This Yaoyue is actually so stunning. Zixia Junzi sword, Yaoyue is so domineering. Long bow, I seem to have seen an empress. Maybe Yaoyue is the empress who dominates the world in their world. Li Yao, I'm really a little sore. Borrowing from the infinite universe, brother Jiang Li, why are you still hesitating? Take it. Jiang Li's eyes indeed lit up. Yaoyue's noble temperament really gives people an overwhelming impulse. Come to think of it, with this kind of temperament, it must be very beautiful when you express your love politely. She is full of nobility, peerless elegance, and her petite and exquisite body gives people endless room for imagination. However, he is not the kind of animal who thinks with his lower body. He already has Ling Ling, so he will not easily let his mind wander. No, we must not take advantage of that woman Yaoyue. On Peach Blossom Island, Huang Rong also felt her cheeks getting hot. The image of Jiang Li's sword-browed eyebrows and starry eyes was deeply imprinted in her mind. She is excellent in herself and has a killer appearance. Which woman would not be moved by a man like Jiang Li? Huang Rong at Jiang Li, brother Jiang Li, I can also have a long-distance relationship. As long as it's you, I'm willing. Compared to Yaoyue, Huang Rong's words have more of a little woman's flavor. The little cook of Taohua Island sent a photo. The little cook of Taohua Island, this is my real face, no fake. A stunning face appeared in front of everyone in the chat group. To be honest, it is really beautiful. Moreover, it is different from Yaoyue's queen temperament. Huang Rong is more of a beautiful girl, the kind that makes people can't help but cherish and pity her. Huang Rong's beauty is not only her appearance, but also her fairy-like temperament that seems to be out of touch with the world. This Huang Rong is so beautiful, that Yaoyue couldn't help but be stunned. Obviously, it was her who was also shocked by Huang Rong's appearance and felt a sense of threat. The chat group was already boiling when Huang Rong posted her appearance. Zixia Junzijian, damn, the little cook on Peach Blossom Island is so beautiful, and the girls in the group, what kind of fairy faces are these? One is more amazing than the other. Li Yao, to be honest, if I didn't have my cousin, I would be willing to pay for it even if it was all my points, my life and property. Wudong 100-year-old Taoist, what evil have I committed? You are trying to disturb my Tao heart. Tian Di Wu Ji Qian Kun Jia Fa, this is the image of a fairy in my mind. Long bow, indeed, Miss Huang's appearance tells me what a real fairy is. Jiang Li. Chapter 42 Dragon God Domain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Devour the world. Diamond suit. As time goes by, the Fire Hammer team seems to have forgotten about the sky-high bounties and entered into a crazy money-spinning mode. The monsters outside City 003 have suffered a devastating blow. They had never encountered such a perverted god of war. He obviously had the strength to invade the city, but he had to lead a group of little Karami to go crazy against high-level beast generals and junior lords, and every time the Fire Hammer team returned to the supply base, everyone was full. Look, Team Fire Hammer is back. Oh my god, how many times this month? Why do I feel like every time they go out there's a big sale somewhere? Not to mention, it really feels like going shopping. That's too much. Have you noticed that there seem to be a lot fewer monsters in the suburbs recently? If this continues, we will have to change cities. The 7th return trip of Fire Hammer team. Brother Jiang, Captain, I think we should stop for a while. Luo Feng was not blinded by the sudden increase in money. Now many warrior teams in the base are talking about the efficiency of our Fire Hammer team. If this continues, it will not be difficult for them to guess that our team has a god of war. Normally, the god of war would be too lazy to hunt down beast generals. After all, it would be troublesome to dissect the materials, but Jiang Li was different. He was only responsible for killing. There were 6 professional chefs behind him. Even Chenggu, who used thermal weapons, could no longer carry a gun. Can the efficiency be lower? Luo Feng is right. The materials we hunted and killed were exchanged for nearly 30 billion xia coins. Although Gao Feng was reluctant to make money at this speed, he still said, even an elite team like Langya team is not half as efficient as us. Well, the most important thing in life is to be content. Chenggu and Zhang Ke looked at each other and smiled. The money we made this time is enough for us to spend a lifetime. According to the previous allocation, 30 billion was divided. Except for Jiang Li and Luo Feng, the other members also received as much as 1.8 billion, and Luo Feng alone got 3 billion. Jiang Li holds 60%, a total of 18 billion. It's just that when we go back this time, our Fire Hammer team may be disbanded. Wei Qing suddenly became sentimental and said, I don't know about others, but I definitely can't let go of brother Jiang. They knew that Jiang Li had an elite training camp test quota, but Chenggu, Zhang Ke and the Wei brothers had all taken gene potions, making it difficult for them to improve. They had already decided to give up exploring the wilderness area and return to the martial arts gym to serve. Come on, you know how to catch brother Jiang. Wei Tai rolled his eyes at him and said generously, when I go back to the HR Alliance Mall this time, I will definitely treat brother Jiang to a nice meal, so don't rob me of him. 1.8 billion. It can be said that it is money earned without risk. Before they were there, it would have taken at least 10 years or more to make money, and there was also a risk of death. I'm asking this time, no one of you can argue with me. Gao Feng waved his hand and said, Jiang Li has saved my life. I probably won't be able to repay this kindness in my life. I can only treat him with a feast. Brother Jiang, Captain, everyone. Luo Feng pondered for a moment and said, I won't go back with you now. I'll stay and continue to hone my sword skills. 2. Chenggu showed a look of surprise. Luo Feng, you are different from us, you are still so young. Only then did everyone realize that Luo Feng was only 18 years old now, but his strength had reached the level of an intermediate warrior, and his future achievements would definitely be high. Team Leader Jiang Li, who had been silent until now, smiled and said, it seems you have to save this meal for later. Hear the words. Several members of the Fire Hammer team also knew in their hearts that Jiang Li was simply taking care of them these days, otherwise, with their current strength, how can they fight side by side with the god of war? After having lunch at the supply station, Gao Feng and others took a special train to leave the number 1 supply station and return to the Jiangnan Bay City. Luo Feng also bid farewell to Jiang Li and headed to City 003 alone. Li Yao and Wanina are trouble after all. Although I am not afraid of them, Ling Ling. Jiang Li's eyes narrowed slightly. In the original work, these two couples actually took action against Luo Feng's family. Although he could feel that Ling Ling was no ordinary person, he didn't want to take risks. Turn on the computer provided in the villa and log into Extreme Home directly. Name, Jiang Li. Gender, male. Address, Jiangnan Bay City, Hanxia Kingdom. Warrior ID number, 01095227. Level, God of War, Elementary. Contribution value, 152371. 2-star contribution. Currency balance, Hanxia currency. The time for growth is still too short, and the contribution value is not enough. I can only buy 3 or 4 levels of world destruction at full price. Jiang Li sighed secretly. He is a mighty god of war, but he is troubled by money again. Buy the 3rd and 4th levels of destruction. Send to the Villa of Supply Base number 1 of the Southeast Military Region. Drop. Fingerprint confirmation passed. Purchase successful. Deduction successful. For example, warriors who use thermal weapons often place orders for ammunition at the supply base. Even if they send cheats to the supply base, they will not attract attention. Early the next morning, Extreme Martial Arts School sent the secret book to Jiang Li. Returned to the villa. After Jiang Li observed it carefully, he memorized the essentials of the 3rd and 4th levels of destruction of the world in his mind. You have comprehended the first 4 levels of the world-destroying world, integrated them all, and combined them with the Vajra Dragon Divine Body and Yuan Shen cultivation method, and you have mastered a trace of the prototype of the Dragon God Realm. Dragon God Realm. Jiang Li felt happy. although this field is only in its infancy, with the cooperation of mental power, it is already very powerful. This is by no means as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. With my current strength and the prototype of the domain, even if I encounter a king-level lord, I can fight and retreat. Jiang Li felt the prototype of the realm in his body, and his confidence was overwhelming. If I add the domain to my Vulture dragon divine body, I wonder what level of strength it will reach. Jiangnan base city, main urban area, inside the mountaintop villa in Luo Feng, Li Yao and Wenina, who looked gloomy, both stared at Li on the huge screen in front of them. He was the person in charge of material acquisition at the #1 supply base of the southeast military region of the HR Alliance. Sir, madam, the specific situation is like this, so I suspect that there is a God of War member in the Fire Hammer team. The most likely one is Senior General Jiang Li. Li has been pondering the anomaly of the Fire Hammer team for nearly a month. An elite team traveled to and from the supply base 7 times in more than 20 days. And the total number of kills reached 30 billion. There are also materials for junior lord monsters. If you think about it carefully, it would be difficult for ordinary junior gods of war to do this. Jiang Li. It's him. It must be him. At this moment, Li Yao and Wenina looked extremely angry and painful. If he didn't have some evil intentions in his heart, how could the majestic god of war succumb to such a rubbish warrior team? Li Yao's face was ferocious, he was breathing heavily from his nostrils, his eyes were flashing fiercely, and he was already furious. Breaking through the god of war, he has not joined the god of war palace until now. He must be afraid that others will know his strength. Chapter 43 Vulture Couple, I want Jiang Li to die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the beginning, Li Yao's search found Jiang Li to be 30 kilometers away. The high-ranking general's psychic master would definitely not be able to escape from this distance, but if you were to be a spiritual master of the elementary god of war, it might not be impossible. Combined with their previous judgments, Li Yao and Wenina were 90% certain that the murderer was Jiang Li. Death, I must let him die. Although Wenina's words to Xia were awkward, the murderous intent contained in her tone was extremely strong, her eyes were like poisonous needles and her voice was extremely sharp. Check, search Jiang Li's location for me. It is definitely not a good thing for them to have nicknames like vultures, poisonous scorpions. They had always been the only ones bullying others, but now they were bullied and killed their only son. How could the two of them not go crazy? A senior general named Jiang Li has been located. His current location is in the west district of city number 003. The virtual old man in black suit immediately gave Jiang Li's location. Check me more information about his relatives. Li Yao was furious and gnashed his teeth. If you kill my only son, I will kill his whole family and bury him with him, and then I will crush Jiang Li's bones into ashes. Sorry sir, no permission. Soon, the old man in a black suit gave an answer that surprised Li Yao and his wife. No authority. Don't even I have authority? Wenina's eyes widened and she almost screamed, I am the executive director of the HR Alliance in Hanxia country. Sorry ma'am, you don't have permission either. In an instant, the originally furious sight fell silent, Wenina Bolinas. It can be said that she is the third person in charge of the HR Alliance in Hanxia Kingdom. Even she has no authority. It is not difficult to imagine the terror behind Jiang Li. Yao, after a while, Wenina frowned and looked at Li Yao, I don't even have the authority. This Jiang Li must be involved with the top leaders of the 2 major martial arts schools. So what? I don't care if he is the emperor. If he kills my only son, I will make him pay with his life. Li Yao was a little angry, his eyes were like spitting fire. I'll kill this Jiang Li first, and his family will come find him later. If you can't find it in the data, you can always find it in other ways. Wenina breathed a sigh of relief in her heart and reminded, Yao, he is a spiritual master, it is not that easy to kill him. Is it possible to get some special equipment? Li Yao also understands that it is difficult to kill a spiritual master of the god of war level. Even if he can find 6 or 7 gods of war, it will be difficult. Because once discovered by the spiritual master, if he ran away at full speed, ordinary gods of war would not be able to catch up. Special instrument? Do you want to use? Winina suddenly thought of a super weapon to deal with king-level monsters, shook her head and said, "It is absolutely impossible in Hanxia, they have extremely strict weapons control." Li Yao frowned, and he knew it was unlikely. In this case, we can only ask that person to take action. Li Yao thought of a person and ordered, "Always pay attention to Jiang Li's location, and help me find some mercenaries, preferably those with the level of god of war." "Good." Vanina nodded. The couple immediately separated and acted. City number 003, the west district of the main urban area. Here, it was once a prosperous metropolis, but now it has become a paradise for countless monsters. Downstairs of a dilapidated residence, huge monster corpses lay strewn about, and a thick smell of blood filled the air. The domain is indeed strong. No wonder Hong Mingming's realm is lower than that of the god of thunder, but his strength is stronger than that of the god of thunder. This is the power of the domain. As soon as Jiang Li put away his bloody sword, his white clothes were flowing, he glanced over the hundreds of monster corpses, showing a hint of surprise. Within the realm, it's like another world. All monsters are bound by the power of the control domain, and only 70% to 80% of their 100% strength is left. With the blessing of domain rules, my speed and strength have increased by a full 20%. Jiang Li glanced at the largest one-horned Tyrannosaurus among the monsters, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and even the intermediate lord's monsters have their speed and strength greatly reduced under the suppression of my domain rules. They should also be there. About 20%. Intermediate lord monsters are equivalent to human intermediate gods of war. In other words, gods of war in the same realm as me will be subject to the suppression of the dragon god domain. Under domain suppression, I will still crush even a mid-level war god spiritual master. Jiang Li's eyes were filled with confidence, not to mention how terrible the suppression and weakening of the domain rules is. The increase alone is enough to make Jiang Li's speed and strength reach the quality of a high-level god of war. If coupled with the increase of the Vulture dragon divine body, even a high-level god of war can fight with the power of one blow. Looks like I have to try with the senior lord. One thought leads to enlightenment. Whoosh. Jiang Li jumped up, held the blood shadow war sword in the air, and immediately turned into a white afterimage, continuing to move towards the center of the city. Boom. Not long after, waves of terrifying sonic booms caught Jiang Li's attention. He turned around and saw smoke and dust rising in a dense residential area nearly 10 kilometers away, and buildings collapsed. There's a lot of movement, it should be the god of war and the senior lord fighting. Jiang Li controlled the blood shadow war sword to draw a silver circle in the air and flew towards the battlefield. Ho! Roar! Ouch! Crazy roars continued to sound in the smoke and dust, as if the world was in chaos. In the outer area where the smoke and dust were scattered, monsters kept roaring wildly and running towards the smoke and dust. For a moment, the earth was shaking. Too scary. This is a battle at the level of a god of war. In a residential area about 5 kilometers outside the outer circle of the battlefield, an 18-year-old young man hid in a corner of the rooftop and secretly watched this horrible battle with binoculars. He was none other than Luo Feng, who was determined to venture into City 003 alone. Ha! 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 In the dust, a blurry blue giant could be vaguely seen. It was at least 5 meters away in height, and its body length reached more than 10 meters. At first glance, it looked like a giant dragon in Western legends. Boom! When it suddenly rushed out, Luo Feng could see clearly that it was an armored dragon covered with dark green scales all over its body. Its pair of fiery red eyes were even more frightening. Even through the binoculars, Luo Feng was terrified. This was a high-level lord-level monster. What is that? Is it a dragon egg? When the armored dragon rushed out of its lair, Luo Feng suddenly found a blue giant egg that was 1 meter high through the binoculars, and his pupils suddenly shrank. The value of the dragon egg is inestimable. At this moment, Luo Feng's mind was turning, and countless thoughts emerged in his mind. Suddenly, a stream of white light broke the sound barrier and flew towards him rapidly from a distance. Luo Feng turned back suddenly, and his nervous expression instantly turned into astonishment. Jiang brother. It's me. Jiang Li landed gracefully, retracted the blood shadow sword and smiled. This is the city center. You are really brave. With Luo Feng's current strength as a mid-level warrior, it is extremely dangerous to be in the city center of number 003. Luo Feng exhaled lightly and said, there are some reasons. About your brother. Jiang Li knew in his heart that Luo Feng was so desperate. On the one hand, he had a strong heart, and on the other hand, it was for his family. Luo Feng nodded slightly. They all lived in Mingyue community, so it was not surprising that Jiang Li knew about his brother. Chapter 44, Iron Armor Dragon Egg and its relationship with Luo Feng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Li glanced at the battle in the distance. The smoke and dust blocked many of his views, and asked, what did you find? Brother Jiang, that armored dragon just laid a dragon egg. I want to try and steal it. Luo Feng took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, I know this is very dangerous, but my brother has disabled legs and feet. If he wants to really stand up from the wheelchair, he needs a piece of water of life worth 30 billion. Even if I hunt monsters desperately, it will take several years, but if I get this dragon egg, all problems will be solved. Okay. When Jiang Li thought about the only 680 million left in his account, he laughed and said, we'll get half of it each after selling the dragon eggs. Brother Jiang, you. Hearing this, Luo Feng was stunned, as if he couldn't believe his ears. You are kind-hearted and kind-hearted. Since you call me Brother Jiang, then I will recognize you as your younger brother. Jiang Li smiled and said, you can do this for your brother, can't I? After the battle with Bei Yuan Gang, Luo Feng tried his best to find someone to help Jiang Li. Although he didn't help much in the end, Jiang Li remembered this intention, and along the way, Luo Feng might as well have regarded Jiang Li as his older brother. Outside the Carrefour supermarket, whoosh! Whoosh! The two figures were like lightning dragons, fighting all the way from the monster group to the armored dragon's lair, the dilapidated Carrefour supermarket. Quick! Don't fight, be careful of being restrained by this herd of beasts, a war god shouted in a low voice. He was none other than the war god Wang Tong who first surveyed the scene for Li Yao that day. Joining forces with him is the god of war Li Can. Damn, why are there so many? Li Can had a violent temper, cursing in his mouth, and was knocked out of the group of huge bloodthirsty tanks, and was immediately pushed back by the iron-skinned wild boars with sharp tusks. Under the succession of hundreds of beast generals who are not afraid of death, even the high-level god of war is extremely difficult to deal with, let alone the three more terrifying junior lord monsters. Roar! Accompanied by a thundering roar, a vague phantom appeared in front of the three junior lord monsters. Its body was condensed. It was the terrifying armored dragon that had just given birth to a dragon egg. It was spitting out angry smoke from its nostrils and its fiery red pupils were staring at it intently. Two humans interrupting its egg-laying. Beast, come and die! Wang Tong shouted loudly, tore a bloody path through the monster group, and rushed towards the armored dragon, but what greeted him was a thick-headed and fleshy bloodthirsty tank. Although it was a junior lord, its defense was extremely terrifying, and ordinary intermediate lords were not as strong as it. The bloodthirsty tank is huge, but not slow at all. While taking a breath, he collided hard with Wang Tong. Bang! Although Wang Tong was a high-level god of war, he was still stagnant when faced with the fierce collision of the lord-level bloodthirsty tanks. After this pause, they were immediately surrounded by a herd of beasts, and a large number of monster corpses flew everywhere. The armored dragon also felt that the two humans in front of it were powerful. It turned around and looked inside the supermarket. The dragon egg was less than 1 kilometer away. If you fight here, once the dragon egg is affected, it will be destroyed. Roar! The armored dragon roared and suddenly flew out. At the same time as a series of terrifying sonic booms sounded, Wang Tong and Li Can's eyes suddenly lit up. Sure enough, the armored dragon has just laid eggs. In order to protect the eggs, it absolutely does not dare to fight in its lair. In this way, without a large number of monsters to restrain them, Wang Tong and Li Can's chances of winning will be greatly increased. Boom, just when the two were about to catch up. What is that? Damn it, where did the spiritual master come from? A white stream of light crashed into the Carrefour supermarket from the other end. Jiang Li's collision. Not only did the expressions of the two war gods change drastically, but even the armored dragon that flew out was terrified. And at this moment, Jiangnan Bay City, main urban area, Luo Feng mountaintop villa. Okay, I get it. After Winina turned off the communicator, she looked at Li Yao helplessly and said, Yao, all the mercenaries rejected our request after hearing that the mission was to deal with the warriors of the extreme martial arts hall in the Hanxia kingdom. Not surprising, Li Yao half squinted his eyes, it is enough for 4 gods of war to accept our employment in a private capacity. Hanxia kingdom has always been known as a restricted area for mercenaries. Unless they are invited by the military to help defend the base city, any mercenaries who enter Hanxia kingdom through abnormal means will be regarded as an invasion, and the military will directly dispatch troops to exterminate them. Even stepping into the Hanxia kingdom is scary, let alone attacking the warriors from the extreme martial arts hall within the Hanxia kingdom, but the mercenaries did not dare to step into the Hanxia kingdom, but the god of war level warriors among them were able to accept Vanina's invitation in a private capacity. After all, many gods of war also invite teammates to hunt lord-level monsters together. Yao, be careful yourself. There was a hint of worry in Vanina's eyes. With my current status, I cannot fight alongside you. If Jiang Li were an ordinary warrior, he would just kill him. After checking the permission restrictions, Vanina knew very well that the other party must have high-level martial arts officials behind it. If she participates, once the matter is exposed, the entire Bolinas family will be implicated. Rest assured. That person has promised to help me once if necessary. Li Yao's eyes were full of ferocity, and he was full of confidence. I will make sure that Jiang Li is wiped out. Li, we have entered the country. We will meet at the C-18 position of 003 city in half an hour. I have sent you the coordinates. Okay. After hanging up the call, Li Yao told Vanina to report Jiang Li's location at all times. Soon, 2 UFO-type dark blue fighters took off from the airport on the top of Huayao Peak and flew rapidly towards the east. On the other side, Jinghua base city. Among the base cities of Hanxia country, it is the base city with the most geniuses. Since the Great Nirvana era, Jinghua base city has provided dozens of genius students for the 2 major martial arts training camps, and as many as 17 have become gods of war. On the main line of Jinghua base city, in a special car of the Thunder Hall. I know. Lei Meng hung up the phone, with a hint of doubt in his eyes. HR Alliance, S-level authority in the Hanxia region. Could it be Vanina from the Bolinas family? Why did they look up Ling Ling's information? Could it be that Jiang Li really did it? Insufficient authority to access information will trigger the protection mechanism. Lei Meng investigated for several days before finding out that it was the HR Alliance that authorized the access, and with this connection, it is not difficult for Lei Meng to think of the sky-high reward. The Vulture Scorpion's character, knowing the murderer who killed his only son, wants to avenge the murderer's family. With their cruelty, it is not impossible. We have to report to the owner and Hong. Lei Meng made a prompt decision. Like Li Yao, he is a high-level war god. In terms of strength, Lei Meng is slightly stronger, but since Li Yao wants to take revenge, he will definitely not go alone, and will definitely bring some helpers. Moreover, in this state of Li Yao, Lei Meng will not be naive enough to think that his identity as an inspector can suppress him. Chapter 45 First Speaker, Jiang Li can't move. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiangnan Bay City. Vanina's phone vibrated, and when she saw the incoming call, she was immediately surprised. Vanina. The voice was slightly high-pitched, and the tone was also full of arrogance. Speaker. Vanina immediately became very respectful. This is the highest authority of the HR Alliance Parliament, who controls more than half of the world's economy and the leader of the entire Underground Alliance. You can imagine how high his status is. Vanina, listen carefully. The voice on the other end of the communication suddenly became extremely cold and stern. The Parliament will never allow you to touch Jiang Li and his family. Once discovered, you, along with the Bolinas family, will be subject to the most severe sanctions of the alliance. What? Vanina's face suddenly changed, and she became panicked. However, the communication has been hung up. Yao, the speaker of the alliance called me personally and forbade us to take action against Jiang Li and his relatives. Vanina did not hesitate and immediately connected Li Yao's communication. In just a moment, Vanina guessed the general idea of who could make the alliance speaker personally call to give a stern warning and threaten to sanction the entire family. There are only two people in the world. That is Hong and Lei Shen. What? The speaker's call. Li Yao, who was about to arrive at City 003, also changed his face instantly. Although he was very famous in the world, compared with the speaker of the HR Alliance, it could be said that he was not worth mentioning. Even the existence beyond the god of war that he exchanged for favors was still a long way behind the speaker of the HR Alliance. Apart from Hong and Lei Shen, it was not an exaggeration to call the speaker of the Underground Alliance the third person in the world. This was not because of how strong her martial arts was, but because of the terrifying power and status. Asshole. What is the background of this guy? Li Yao cursed wildly, and the more he cursed, the more he could conclude that Jiang Li was definitely the murderer. At this moment, he even wanted to eat his flesh, swallow his blood, and gnaw his bones. No. His background is so huge. If we can't kill him this time, it will be even more impossible to kill him in the future. Vanina, don't worry about this. Li Yao's eyes were cold, and he said decisively, as long as I kill this Jiang Li, there is no evidence in the wilderness area. Who dares to point out that it was me who did it? Even if the speaker investigates, you can just put all the responsibility on me. I don't believe that they can punish the entire Bolinas family for a dead man. But Vanina is always worried. No buts. Send me Jiang Li's location. That when the clouds moved in all directions, Jiang Li didn't realize that the danger was coming. He stepped on the blood shadow sword, like a meteorite falling from the sky, and crashed into the first floor of Carrefour supermarket. The monsters guarding the nest were awakened one after another. When a bloodthirsty tank suddenly stood up, its huge eyes were wide open, and before it even reacted, a red light pierced its head, and blood splattered. Roar! The harsh and crazy roar instantly resounded throughout a radius of 6 or 7 kilometers. At the entrance of the supermarket, almost all the monsters that had fought with Wang Tong and Li Kan turned around and rushed into the Carrefour supermarket, screaming and howling. Swish! 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 And Jiang Li flew straight on his sword, with a blood shadow war knife like a sea dragon. With his physical fitness of a middle-level god of war, plus the spiritual power of the soul of 10 clones, each blow of the blood shadow war knife exceeded 100 tons of force. Even a primary lord would be severely injured if he resisted, let alone a group of beast generals. For a while, on the first floor of the Carrefour supermarket, limbs, blood, and corpses were splattered everywhere, just like a purgatory scene. Got it. Jiang Li swept the sword and knocked away the 3 fire-scale wild boars in front of him. Then he took out the blue giant egg and stuffed it into the material backpack. Suddenly, a large number of weapons and equipment of human warriors appeared in his eyes. I almost forgot that when Jiang Li saw the pile of weapons and equipment, he immediately regretted it. If he had thought of it earlier, he would not have rushed in directly. Dragon. It is a very special creature. Whether it is a Western dragon or an Eastern dragon, it is said that they have a hobby of collecting treasures. Although this armored dragon can only be regarded as a sub-dragon, it has inherited the tradition of collecting treasures very well. Jiang Li glanced over and saw that there were 4 sets of combat uniforms alone, and they were still very well preserved. This armored dragon is a high-level lord. Those who can fight it must be war gods. It is probably an S-series, 9 series, combat uniform. Jiang Li quickly judged, among the war gods in the world, Jiang Li is probably the only war god who still wears B7 series, combat uniforms. It's not that he doesn't want to change, but he is really poor. This damn sense of poverty is invading again. A spiritualist of a mid-level war god, who is invincible, has a total net worth of only 680 million. Can you believe it? During the actual combat assessment, a high-level general like Zhuge Tao waved his hand and gave 500 million at will. According to the market price, the full price of the S-Series combat uniform is 12 billion Hanxia coins. Even if it is half price, it is 6 billion Hanxia coins. For complete combat uniforms, even if they are sold second-hand, can be sold for tens or even hundreds of millions. If it is SS level, it will be a sky-high price, that the material of the SS level combat suit can resist the bites and attacks of most king-level monsters. In the extreme house, even at half price, it costs 60 billion. An ordinary war god, even a high-level war god, may not have this figure with all his wealth. Even if it is a second-hand product at half price, it can still sell for 20 to 30 billion. And there are weapons. Jiang Li suddenly felt like he had run into a mountain of gold. Boom! Not just when Jiang Li was thinking about thousands of things, the armored dragon that had run out rushed back, and its huge body crashed into the Carrefour supermarket. At this moment, the armored dragon was already in a rampage state, and even two high-level war gods joined forces, they couldn't stop it. Although I am not afraid of this armored dragon, once the battle begins, the dragon egg may not be intact. Jiang Li understood it in one thought. As for the weapons and combat suits, they can come back and get them later. Before the armored dragon crashed into the nest, Jiang Li's blood shadow sword drew a strange arc, and the blood shadow sword in his hand swung violently, and Jiang Li directly crashed out from the other side of the wall. The whole wall was knocked open with a large hole with a diameter of 5 meters, steel bars and concrete flew everywhere. Boom! For a moment, the Carrefour supermarket trembled, and there was a feeling of crumbling. Friends! I am Shadow Knife Wang Tong, let's work together to deal with. The god of war Wang Tong, who was chasing over, bounced, and saw that the white stream of light crashed out from the first floor of the Carrefour supermarket again. He hadn't finished shouting yet. Jiang Li's figure quickly disappeared in the distance, and his speed was much faster than that of the high-level god of war. Damn, so fast. Where did this spiritual teacher come from? Li Kan had blood on his body, and was obviously slightly injured. What on earth does this guy want to do? And the next moment, they knew the answer. A woo! The extremely piercing roar tore through the sky, and the terrifying scream actually produced sound waves in the air, sweeping across all directions. Chapter 46 Two Scapegoats. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The surrounding buildings instantly collapsed, steel bars broke, and walls collapsed. Even some low-level beast soldiers were shocked by the sound waves until they bled from their 7 holes and fell to the ground. This shrill roar almost echoed through the entire city 003. Damn it, that psychic master must have stolen the dragon egg. Wang Tong was also stabbed by the sound wave, causing his blood to boil. The dragon egg is the lifeblood of the armored dragon. Was it stolen? In an instant, this armored dragon entered a state of madness. Oh! There were mournful sounds everywhere, as if other monsters were responding to the armored dragon. However, even if the armored dragon's speed suddenly soared to an unprecedented limit, it was still far from being comparable to a mental master who was at the level of a mid-level god of war. When it crashed out of Carrefour, where would there be any trace of Jiang Li? Immediately, it suddenly turned its body, and with the blessing of endless anger, it instantly rushed towards Wang Tong and Li Kan. What the hell? But when Wang Tong saw the armored dragon coming at him like a mountain, he was so shocked that he cursed. Boom! Almost at the same time, every opening on the first, second, and fifth floors of the Carrefour supermarket was like a muzzle that sprayed bullets, and angry beast-level monsters poured out one after another. The dragon eggs are gone. As the monsters that guard their nest, how can they withstand the anger of the armored dragon? We can only kill the human beings who are the initiators. This moment, not to mention, there were 600 to 700 monsters charging at Wang Tong and Li Kan desperately. Damn, let's go! Li Kan fought against the furious armored dragon once, and immediately vomited blood. Although the armored dragon was not feeling well, it was so fierce that it was not afraid of death. Even the high-level god of war did not dare to face the sharp edge, so it could only run for its life. While escaping, he did not forget to curse. My ears hurt. Luo Feng was lurking on the rooftop of a residential building 5 kilometers away when he was passed by a burst of sound waves from the armored dragon. He suddenly felt like needles pricking his eardrums. Fortunately, he is a spiritual master at the level of an intermediate warrior, otherwise this roar alone would be enough to stun an ordinary warrior. Calm down a little. Luo Feng saw Jiang Li flying up to the rooftop in a big circle from the right. Brother Jiang. Luo Feng was still frightened at this moment, and he said gratefully, if it were me, maybe. He didn't say the word death, but with the terrifying movement and the terrifying sound waves, Luo Feng asked himself, if he went there by himself, he would definitely have a narrow escape. Luo Feng, give me your backpack. You leave here immediately. Jiang Li didn't waste any time and handed the bag containing the dragon eggs directly to Luo Feng and said, there's no guarantee that the armored dragon can track the eggs through its breath. Good. Brother Jiang, be more careful, my supply base is waiting for you. Luo Feng didn't hesitate at all, jumped onto the shield and quickly left the city center. Complete the handover. Jiang Li jumped up, stepped on the blood shadow sword and broke the sound barrier, returning to the armored dragon's lair again, and when he glanced at it from a high altitude, Jiang Li suddenly felt dumbfounded. About 3 or 4 kilometers in front of the Carrefour supermarket, 2 figures were seen running. Quickly, sometimes running and sometimes jumping for tens of meters, and vaguely angry roars could be heard. Behind the 2 of them was the insane armored dragon, with a blurry phantom and a mess on the ground and smoke in the sky. Further back, hundreds of monsters were chasing madly, and there was a faint beginning of a beast tide. When we join the Ares Palace, we can treat them both to a drink. Jiang Li expressed guilt. If the mid-level and high-level war gods want to run away, the armored dragon and hundreds of monsters alone will definitely not be able to kill them. Immediately, the blood shadow war sword swooped down and Jiang Li returned to Carrefour supermarket again. At this time, there were no monsters left behind in the Carrefour supermarket, only ruins. I hope I have SS-level weapons or equipment, so that I can have enough money to buy the entire set of world destruction. With a hint of excitement in his heart, Jiang Li's mental power spread instantly, throwing away the concrete where the weapons, equipment and combat uniforms were buried. Then he opened his backpack and used his mental power to stuff all the armored dragon's treasures inside, and at this time, District C-18 of City Number 003, when a flying saucer-shaped Yulon fighter jet passed over the C-18 area, the hatch opened, a figure jumped down from mid-air. It was Li Yao, the Vulture in a black god suit. Plum. There was an extremely harsh sound wave from the southwest just now. The bearded man was wearing a dark combat uniform, his eyes were focused on the distance and he said, it should be the roar of the Lord Monster. Southwest. Li Yao glanced at the positioning coordinates, his face darkened, and his eyes were filled with uncertainty. Could it be him? It's just right, take action while he and the Lord Monster are exhausted. Go. Southwest. Li Yao's figure flashed and instantly turned into a phantom that shot towards the southwest. The 4 gods of war behind him followed one after another. Among them, only Ekhausen was the junior god of war. The bearded James and the other blonde Adams are both high-ranking gods of war. The last one is Florence, the second in command of the East African Poison Wolf Mercenary Corps, who is a mid-level war god. Other side, Jiang Li filled his backpack and walked out of the Carrefour supermarket leisurely. He saw Wang Tong and Li Kan fighting fiercely with the armored dragon again. Considering that the 2 war gods were selflessly pulling monsters for him, Jiang Li controlled the blood shadow war sword and flew over, and at this moment, Li Kan waved his mace, jumped around in the monster group, and used his body skills to fight with 3 primary lord monsters. He was called the Powerful Bear. Although he was still a medium-level war god, some high-level war gods were not as good as him in terms of strength. It would not be a problem for a while to deal with 3 primary lord monsters. Shadow Blade Wang Tong is a real high-level war god, and he is also a high-level god. Damn it! Li Yao is still desperately calling me at this time. Wang Tong was now full of anger. After a knife cut off the impact of the armored dragon in an instant, he was so angry that he threw away the communicator directly. Don't fight, continue to fight with this evil beast. Wang Tong shouted, I don't believe I can't kill it. Then he jumped again, avoiding the dragon's dragon tail swing, and his pupils were wide open. Damn it, still coming. He jumped dozens of meters high and immediately saw Jiang Li flying in the distance with the blood shadow sword. He couldn't help cursing in his heart. No. There are no dragon eggs stolen here. Could it be that this guy has a change of heart and wants to help us? In a second, several thoughts flashed through Wang Tong's mind, and finally he uttered that sentence, "Friend, how about joining forces? 30% and 70%. 50% and 50%. 40% and 60%. Okay." Wang Tong agreed decisively. The materials of the iron armor dragon are indeed valuable, but Li Kan is injured now, and it is difficult for him to kill the iron armor dragon surrounded by beasts. As for the war of attrition, who knows when it will be consumed? Who knows what accidents will happen by then? Although Jiang Li's previous behavior of stealing dragon eggs made the two people curse, it was just venting their dissatisfaction. No one would want to offend a war god-level spiritualist. If you can become his friend, it is definitely something to be happy about. Chapter 47 What the hell is this monster? You are listening at novelfull.audio. New friend, I leave these 3 junior lords to you. The cooperation was reached, and Li Kan was straightforward. After saying these words to Jiang Li, he kicked his legs and feet with all his strength, leaped tens of meters, brandished his mace and rushed towards the armored dragon, shouting loudly, "You evil beast, take a hit from your master Ken." See it, Jiang Li didn't hesitate at all. He turned over and jumped down from midair. The blood shadow war gun he held in his hand whirled in the air, a critical moment. The next moment, the red glow of the blood shadow war gun skyrocketed, and at first glance it looked like a red thunder falling from the sky. Like a falling meteorite, the terrifying force directly blasted a large crater more than 30 meters into the ground. While killing a junior lord, dozens of monsters were blown up into the sky. Damn! So strong. Spiritual masters are indeed perverts, and their power is greater than mine. Li Chan is good at strength and can make a general judgment at a glance. You must know that the blood shadow war gun is not a blunt weapon. The tip of the gun is so sharp, and the concentration of power is more reflected in the puncture. But with this blow, Jiang Li not only killed the junior lord in an instant, but also sent a monster weighing several tons flying. What kind of terrifying power is this? Go! Jiang Li swiped his spear horizontally, and the 3-headed beast general-level tusked wild boar was directly exploded by the stunned head. While his eyes were slightly focused, the blood shadow war sword whirled in the air, drawing a strange arc and shooting straight into the armored dragon's eyes. Bang! The armored dragon ducked out of the way in an instant. Although it didn't hit its eyes, the blood shadow war sword stabbed it hard on the head. It's a pity that this is an A7 level blood shadow war sword. It's neither hard nor sharp enough to penetrate the high-ranking lord monster. Chang. In the end, the blood shadow war sword could not withstand the dual pressure of Jiang Li's strong mental power and the armored dragon's defense. It broke with a thud, and half of the sword remained in the armored dragon's head. In the past, Jiang Li would have felt a little distressed, but now, he has a backpack of S-level equipment and as many as 11 weapons. Although the instantaneous impact of the blood shadow war sword was dodged by the armored dragon, Wang Tong on the other side seized the moment and slashed it with one knife, slashing diagonally along the right eye, almost killing half of the armored dragon's head. Cut it down. Bang! Li Kan on the left also waved his mace, smashing the left eye of the armored dragon like lightning. Haha! Wang Tong couldn't help but laugh heartily. The two of them cooperated extremely well, and their advantages were revealed one by one. The sword and stick instantly turned into a violent storm. In just 30 seconds, they bombarded the armored flower nearly 200 times, smashing its head into pieces. As soon as the armored dragon died, the 2 junior lords and the beasts dispersed and began to flee in all directions. Brother work. Wang Tong put away the knife, twisted his body, looked at Jiang Li and said depressedly, "I was almost killed by you before. Where's the dragon egg? Want to rob?" Jiang Li raised his eyebrows, knowing that Wang Tong and Li Yao knew each other. However, as the god of war, after joining the palace of the god of war, unless there is a real grudge, there will generally be a certain degree of friendship between the gods of war. After all, many lord monsters cannot be hunted down by one person. Chase but can't catch up. Wang Tong has a rather forthright personality and said straightforwardly, "You may not win even if you fight, so why should I rob you? I've never seen a dragon egg before, so I'm just curious to see it." Jiang Li smiled and said, "Let's send it back to the supply base first." "What the hell?" Wang Tong glared. "Are you guys still committing crimes in a gang?" Jiang Li. "Okay, how to divide these 4 to 6? Cut the materials." After Li Kan finished handling the body of the armored dragon, he asked, "The price of the whole piece of scale armor is more than double that of the individual pieces. Whatever the market price is, you can just transfer it to me in Hansha coins, not to mention cutting it open and selling it at a low price." He just threw a whole piece of scale armor to Jiang Li, and he had no place to put it on. "Okay, feel free." Li Kan couldn't help but smile and said, "We won't cheat you either. The most valuable thing about the armored dragon of the senior lord is the scale armor. The market price is about 40 billion. If you add up the other materials, I will give you a round number. I'll give you 20 billion to make a friend. If you don't mind, just give me your warrior ID number." 01095527. Jiang Li reported his warrior ID number to Li Kansas. 426123, country code. Li Kan read while typing, 2005-6801. 9527. "Your name is Jiang Li. Are you sure you didn't report an error?" Jiang Li nodded, and then the communicator sounded a reminder that the account had arrived, and as soon as this prompt sounded, the way Wang Tong and Li Kan looked at Jiang Li suddenly changed, and their eyes widened. How is this possible? That the two powerful warriors looked like they had seen a ghost. Even when they saw Hong, they were not that shocked. "What? The one in front of me is named Jiang Li. What the hell? He really just passed the warrior exam this year. God of War. What's wrong with this world? What's your expression?" Jiang Li smiled, then his eyes narrowed. Jiang Li, Wang Tong, and Li Kan became alert almost at the same time. "I saw 5 vague human shadows approaching quickly not far away, sometimes jumping and sometimes running. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them were surrounded. Li Yao. James. Adam." Wang Tong glanced at the people coming over and was slightly startled. "This is what you are doing?" Jiang Li's eyes narrowed, and his mental power spread instantly. Li Yao must have known that he was the murderer of his son if he appeared here. "Wang Tong, Li Kan, are you helping me or him?" Li Yao scanned the scene and it was not difficult to analyze that Jiang Li and Wang Tong had joined forces to kill the armored dragon. "You mean, Jiang Li is the god of war who killed your son?" Wang Tong is not stupid. Jiang Li is a god of war and a spiritualist. Li Yao brought people to kill him directly. The purpose is so clear, how could he not think of it? "Help me, the reward is 50 billion. Li Yao did not say any nonsense, his eyes were always fixed on Jiang Li, as if he was worried that he would run away at any time. Li Yao, who do you think I am, Wang Tong?" Wang Tong suddenly raised his head and laughed. "No matter how much money you pay, I will not attack the warriors of my country. Li Kan, let's go." No matter how beautiful the words are, Wang Tong really doesn't dare to earn this 50 billion. Let alone 50 billion, even if it is 5 trillion, he doesn't dare. A warrior who took the test on August 1st has become a god of war in less than half a year. It would be fine if he could be killed, but if he escapes, will he be a being that surpasses the god of war when he comes back next year? Wang Tong is not the only one who has this idea. When Li Kan heard the 3 words "let's go," he jumped without saying a word and ran away. With Li Yao's character, if we don't help him, he will probably not let us go. While running, Li Kan cursed, "Jiang Li is a spiritualist, how can he be killed so easily? Today is so damn unlucky. I was chased by the armored dragon for 10 blocks just now, and now I have to be chased by this vulture for 10 blocks again." Wang Tong was also very angry, but there was no way. The two of them were seriously injured in dealing with the armored dragon and the beast group. If they really fought, they probably couldn't defeat a high-level god of war. Chapter 48 Li Yao, Jiang Li, you can't escape today. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The fight hasn't started yet, but after Wang Tong and Li Can fled 7 or 8 kilometers, they touched the rooftop of a residential building and took out their binoculars to look out. Jiang Li, you can't escape today. Li Yao was also waiting, and only after Wang Tong and Li Can left completely did he really feel at ease. Mentalists are already difficult to deal with. If you add a high-level god of war and a middle-level god of war, they may not be able to win with their 5 gods of war. Of course, Li Yao didn't know that both Wang Tong and Li Can were injured. Who told you I was running away? Jiang Li, who had not spoken yet, glanced at the other 4 gods of war, and said with a cold look, it's still too late to leave now. Do it. Li Yao let out a low roar, and his whole body flashed with black light. He held 2 swords in his hands and rushed towards Jiang Li like a black lightning bolt. At the same time, the other 4 war gods also took action at the same time and rushed over from the other 4 directions. The distance of several hundred meters passed in an instant. The next moment, Jiang Li also moved with the blood shadow sword in his hand. He exploded with speed and instantly broke the sound barrier, turning into a white stream of light and rushing towards the weakest god of war, Heaven. Call out, that the sound of breaking through the skies suddenly started. In the blink of an eye, a dagger shot out from his backpack, and the stream of light instantly crossed a distance of 20 or 20 meters. Heaven knew that Jiang Li was a spiritual master and was on guard. Clang. The sharp blade in his hand blocked at its limit, and he barely deflected a dagger. However, Heaven had not had time to breathe a sigh of relief. Call out. Boo! Boo! Call out. For completely different weapons shot out at the same time, including swords, knives, daggers, and a long stick. Wang Tong and Li Can, who were looking out with binoculars, couldn't help but twitch the corners of their mouths when they saw this scene. What kind of weird thing is this Jiang Li? Which spiritual master would carry such a mess of weapons? Li Can looked confused. Among the spiritual masters he had encountered, they generally had uniform weapons, such as throwing knives, daggers, swords, darts, etc. People like Jiang Li are well equipped with swords, guns, swords and sticks, simply. I doubt this guy stole the dragon egg. Wang Tong's head was full of black lines, but he stole the armored dragon's lair. That when Wang Tong and Li Wen were complaining, a prehistoric class smart fighter flew across the East China Sea in an instant, shooting directly at City 003 like a white rainbow penetrating the sun. Heaven, retreat! Bearded James shouted loudly. I saw 4 S-class weapons, like streams of death, shooting at Heaven from different directions in an instant. Clang. Chang! With the nervous reaction speed of a junior god of war, Heaven's ability to block 2 streams of light in an instant was already the limit. Another dagger grazed his neck, almost decapitating him. Bang! The last long stick hit Heaven's head firmly from above. His whole head was like a smashed watermelon, and blood and brains immediately spattered out. Heaven, the eyes of the bearded James, who had already been killed, opened wide, and all the strength in his body gathered in his hands. The giant hammer in his hand slammed into Jiang Li with the force of breaking mountains and cracking the ground. Magnetic storm streaming knife. Jiang Li shouted softly, and a red light erupted from the sword in his hand. It was like a force field, turning the fighting within a few hundred meters into a field. The sword flashed and struck at the giant hammer of the bearded James. With a bang, the blood shadow sword actually shattered in response. The A7 sword is indeed a bit low-level. Jiang Li sighed inwardly. Since purchasing the follow-up techniques of world destruction and 9 layers of thunder knife, he has continuously improved the magnetic storm streamer knife. Its current power is several times stronger than before. A mere A7 sword simply cannot bear his current strength. The bearded James who faced him was even more horrified. Damn it, is he so powerful? This Jiang Li is definitely not a junior god of war. To know, the power of the high-level god of war has reached 100 tons, coupled with the increased combat power of his body, he can use secret techniques. Bearded James's hammer had a force of at least 500 tons, but it just shattered Jiang Li's sword. And when they met each other, less than a minute into the fight, the junior god of war, Ekhazen, had his head smashed. Is this what a junior god of war can do? But at this moment, Li Yao didn't give Jiang Li any time to breathe. He turned into a black afterimage and slashed with his two swords, making dozens of cuts in an instant. Seeing this scene, Jiang Li could only sneer in his heart. Within the range covered by his mental power, even the speed of the high-level god of war was half a beat too slow when it caught his eye. Jiang Li's mind moved, and an invisible spiritual force acted on the S-class long sword, passing under his feet and lifting him into the air in an instant. Then he stretched out his hand and grasped the long stick in his hand. The long sword held him up and suddenly fall. Destroy the world. Following Jiang Li's shout, the blessing of mental power acted on the arm guard, coupled with the rapid falling speed. At this moment, the entire S-class long stick erupted with red light, directly rubbing against the air and creating light fire. It was like a comet hitting the moon and falling. It was extremely majestic and smashed towards Li Yao. Facing this stick that seemed to be able to shatter Ling Xiao, Li Yao's expression suddenly changed. In panic, his arms surged, and he crossed his swords to block it. The combination of the three, unimaginable huge power was directly transmitted through the double swords. Even though the black god suit could relieve the force, Li Yao still felt pain in his arms, his knuckles cracked, and his whole arms were numb in an instant. Immediately, he kicked his feet suddenly and tried his best to jump around, and the faces of the bearded James and others also changed wildly, as if they didn't expect Jiang Li to be so powerful. Boom! That the S-level long stick hit the ground, and a huge sound wave exploded. Damn it! Li Yao climbed up from dozens of meters away in a dusty face. His face was extremely grim and his eyes were full of murderous light. He had broken through the god of war and traveled the world for many years. When did he have such an embarrassing moment? He was forced to dodge and fell on a dog. Jiang Li fell, and Adams had already rushed in front of him. This Hanxia country's spiritualist has become a god of war at such a young age. We must not let him live, otherwise it will be even more difficult for our eagle country to turn over. Adams's sword slashed, and his mind was turning. The history of the eagle country dates back to before the Great Nirvana era, and it has always been the world hegemon, but after the Great Nirvana, Hanxia country has produced many strong men and has become a world leader. The former hegemon has fallen to the point of relying on others, so how can they not be jealous of the genius of Lu Hanxia country? The thought of being able to kill the genius warrior of Hanxia country, and a spiritualist. Adams felt that the blood in his body was boiling wildly. Adams' eyes were like lightning, and his momentum was soaring. He cut a blue arc of light with a knife and slashed straight at Jiang Li's head. When he saw that the blade was about to cross Jiang Li's neck, he was very strong. Dragon God Domain, open. Jiang Li's mind moved, and the domain rules were instantly pressed within the coverage of his mental power. Even Adams, a high-level god of war, was stagnant. What's going on? Adams' eyes widened, and he couldn't help but feel a shock in his heart. He obviously felt that his speed had dropped a level. In fact, the suppression power of Jiang Li's dragon god domain does not depend on the level of his realm, but the strength of his soul. Because his soul complements the domain, and looking at the whole world, even the world's strongest man, Hong, no one's soul strength can compare to Jiang Li, who has an extraordinary understanding.